This is a sample of the information provided as part of the flexible training resources available through hasup.com. Our training courses are designed to provide training participants with an understanding of food safety and quality system elements and also offer user-friendly assessment activities and competency checklists to complete the training cycle. Identity preservation. Key definitions for identity preservation. Certificate of Analysis, C of A or COA, a document that reports and certifies the test results of a product, commonly including confirmation of chemical, microbiological or physical composition. Genetically modified organism or GMO, a plant, animal or microorganism whose genes have been altered using genetic modification by the inclusion of foreign genetic material or by the alteration of some DNA. The foreign material may come from other individuals of the same or different species, or it may be synthetic. Identity preservation. Identity preservation is the practice of tracking the details of raw materials, work in progress and finished foodstuffs so that the specific characteristics of each product lot are known. Mass spectrometer, a scientific instrument that ionizes sample molecules and separates the ions according to their mass-to-charge ratio to identity chemical composition. Product identification and traceability. Product identification and traceability is the method used to ensure that all items including raw materials, packaging, work in progress and finished products are identifiable and traceable to their source. Titration, a process in which a carefully measured amount of a well-characterized chemical substance is added to a substance of unknown concentration until a complete reaction has occurred. Titrations are used for chemical analyses to determine volumes of chemicals and other substances within a solution. Identity preservation development. When considering the development, documentation and implementation of identity preservation within food safety and quality management systems, the following information should be considered to ensure effective outcomes. About identity preservation. Named identity preserved status. Categorized identity preserved status. Verification of identity preserved status. About product identification and traceability. About identity preservation. Identity preservation procedures are important to ensure the identification and traceability of specified items is maintained. Identity preservation is relevant to products including those with claims regarding composition, sourcing or status as a named or categorized product. Consumers rely on the identity preservation process to be maintained to ensure ongoing confidence in the foods they purchase. Named identity preserved status. Named identity preserved status includes food items or ingredients that are defined by a specific name, rather than by a general category. Examples of named identity preserved items may include food or ingredients identifiable as a designated species or registered varieties of plant or animal. For example, a specific breed of sheep. Food or ingredients identifiable as sourced from specified geographical regions, for example, Parma ham. Food or ingredients identifiable as produced or manufactured to specified standards, for example, foods manufactured under a registered trademark or through a specific technology. Categorized identify preserved status. Categorized identity preserved status includes food items or ingredients that are from a general category, rather than a specific name. Examples of categorized identity preserved items may include food or ingredients identifiable by their genetic status, for example, GMO. Food or ingredients identifiable by their purity or chemical-free status, for example, organic. Food or ingredients identifiable by their method of production, for example, free range. It is possible for food items to be categorized as a combination of named and categorized identify preserved status. Verification of identify preserved status. As with all food products, it is important to be able to confirm claims made regarding composition or identity status. In this context, it is important that careful consideration is given to ensuring the verification methods employed to prove any claims being made are in fact correct. Verification requirements for identity-preserved foods or ingredients are often much more complex than those applied for product assessments and testing. Prospective identity preservation verification activities are provided in the following examples. Species of plants of animals can be verified through genetic profiling against established markers. Food or ingredients sourced from specified geographical regions can be verified through genetic profiling. This is generally an option where there is a controlled genetic pool, and no extensive crossbreeding is facilitated. Chemical profiling using devices such as a mass spectrometer can also be used to map unique chemical content factors relevant to a specified geographical region. Microbiological, chemical and physical assessments and testing can be applied to verify the status of foods or food ingredients manufactured under a registered trademark or through a specific technology. Genetic status can be verified through genetic profiling against established markers. Purity or chemical-free status can be verified through the application of a mass spectrometer, or through simple chemical analysis techniques such as titration. Method of production can be verified through microbiological, chemical and physical assessments and testing. It is important to consider that a certification or accreditation is not a guarantee of conformance regarding identity preservation. These are simply a confirmation of systems used to manage the anticipated identity preservation process. Outcomes of product assessments and testing provide confidence that the identity preservation claims being made are accurate. It is common for food businesses using identity-preserved foods or ingredients to request a certificate of analysis upon receipt of their identity-preserved items to display conformance. If your food business supplies foodstuffs manufactured to a customer's specifications, it is important to consider any specific identity preservation development requirements in relation to their items. Document. A document provides guidance and/or direction for performing work, making decisions, or rendering judgments which affect the safety or quality of the products or services that customers receive. Documented policies, procedures, work instructions and schedules form the basis of any food safety and quality management system. The following documentation formats may be considered to ensure ongoing compliance with specified requirements for identity preservation. Identity preservation policy. Identity preservation development procedures. Identity preservation implementation procedures and work instructions. Identity preservation monitoring procedures. Identity preservation corrective and preventative action procedures. Identity preservation verification schedule. Identity preservation verification procedures. Identity preservation validation schedule. Identity preservation validation procedures. Identity preservation training procedures. If your food business supplies foodstuffs manufactured to a customer's specifications, it is important to consider any specific identity preservation documentation requirements in relation to their items. You may wish to visit the Identity Preservation Templates section of HACCP.com for examples of identity preservation documentation, record and resource formats commonly applied within food safety and quality systems. Implementation. Implementation is the application of documented food safety and quality system elements into the actual business operation. The implementation of identity preservation within any food business requires genuine commitment from senior management, staff and visitors to ensure the nominated goals of implementation are achievable on an ongoing basis. It is a step which requires significant planning and consideration of general and specific food business circumstances to ensure the outcomes of identity preservation do not negatively impact upon the safety and quality of the food items dispatched from the business. Implementation of identity preservation must include the clear definition of responsibilities and authorities for all levels of participation by senior management, staff and visitors to the site. When implementing identity preservation within a food safety and quality system, you may wish to consider the following requirements prior to completion: communication and display of the identity preservation policy, completion of verification and validation of identity preservation development procedures, availability of identity preservation implementation procedures and work instructions, availability of identity preservation monitoring procedures and record templates where applicable, availability of identity preservation corrective and preventative action procedures and record templates where applicable, availability of the identity preservation verification schedule, availability of identity preservation verification procedures, availability of the identity preservation validation schedule, Availability of identity preservation validation procedures. Completion of identity preservation training procedures. Completion of product design and development requirements related to identity preservation. Completion of process design and development requirements related to identity preservation. Completion of training for team members who have responsibilities and involvement within identity preservation. Completion of competency approval for team members who have responsibilities and involvement within identity preservation. If your food business supplies foodstuffs manufactured to a customer's specifications, it is important to consider any specific identity preservation implementation requirements in relation to their items. Need help with identity preservation? Find an experienced food safety and quality consultant at hasup.com. Monitoring. Monitoring is the act of reviewing and confirming measurable parameters of a defined process or product status. Monitoring requirements within food industry sectors are generally identified against limits of acceptability defined within HACCP plans, implementation procedures and work instructions. Monitoring usually includes some element of record keeping, which may be maintained manually or through digital systems. It is important to consider that advancements of technology have spawned many systems and processes which are self-monitored and/or self-adjusted when variances are identified, regardless of the system used. The goal of any monitoring activity is to provide sufficient evidence that any limit of acceptability has been met. Did you know that HACCP.com includes resources that allow you to create, manage and implement GFSI and HACCP-based food safety and quality programs? Improve your food safety and quality skills and knowledge? Train and develop your team to create better food safety and quality outcomes? Find suppliers and service providers to partner with your business? The information and training resources available through HACCP.com include a variety of formats, such as website content, MP4, MP4 and text, MP3, PDF and slideshow. Are you ready to take the next step in your food compliance journey? Visit HACCP.com today to create your profile and access the full versions of our food safety and quality information packages and much more.